The first season of Paradise unravels a gripping tale of survival, moral dilemmas, and the devastating consequences of humanity's hubris. The show masterfully reveals the events that led to the world's destruction while keeping the exact day of the apocalypse shrouded in mystery. As the story unfolds, the veil lifts, exposing shocking truths about the characters, their decisions, and the fragile nature of human civilization. By the end of the season, the residents of Paradise, a sanctuary designed to withstand the end of the world, learn that the reality of their situation is far more complex and terrifying than they were led to believe. Among the central figures is Xavier Collins, whose personal journey becomes a microcosm of the broader struggle for survival and redemption. The Calamity, a world unraveling 10 years before the events of the apocalypse, a group of scientists, including Samantha Redford, began to piece together a grim hypothesis. The world was on the brink of annihilation. Their research pointed to a dormant Antarctic volcano whose eruption would trigger a chain reaction of catastrophic events. Samantha, a visionary yet controversial figure, took this warning seriously. She spearheaded the creation of Paradise, a self-sustaining refuge designed to protect a select few from the impending doom. However, her warnings were largely ignored by the global community, dismissed as alarmist or exaggerated. The scientists had hoped that the increasing seismic activity around the volcano would provide a clear timeline, allowing them to prepare and complete their tasks. But nature had other plans. The volcano erupted suddenly and violently, catching even Samantha and her team off guard. The eruption was unprecedented in scale, sending massive tsunamis racing across the globe. Coastal regions were obliterated, and areas below 300 feet above sea level were deemed irrecoverable. The waves began their destructive path in Australia and New Zealand, sweeping across the South American coastlines before heading toward the United States. As the world descended into chaos, governments and individuals alike scrambled to make sense of the unfolding disaster. The White House, still reeling from the initial reports, struggled to coordinate a response. Amid the confusion, Cal Bradford, a key figure in the Paradise Project, faced a moral dilemma. He realized that many would perceive the disaster as a temporary crisis, not the end of the world. This misunderstanding, coupled with the panic and desperation of those in power, led to a dangerous escalation. The nuclear threat, humanity's final act of self-destruction, as if the natural disaster wasn't enough, the situation was further exacerbated by the actions of nations unaffected by the initial calamity. These countries, seeing an opportunity to expand their territories or secure resources, began preparing for war. Their aggressive posturing and territorial ambitions threatened to ignite a global conflict. In a world already teetering on the edge, the prospect of nuclear war loomed large. Cal, now acutely aware of the stakes, found himself grappling with a horrifying reality that humanity might not be wiped out by the natural disaster alone. Instead, it could be the result of their own actions. The leaders of nuclear-armed nations, driven by fear and greed, were on the verge of unleashing their arsenals. If even one country launched its missiles, it would trigger a chain reaction, ensuring mutual destruction and the complete eradication of human life. At the heart of this tension was a chilling historical parallel. The show takes viewers back to 1962, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, when the world stood on the brink of nuclear war. In a poignant flashback, a general recounts how a single man's defiance of orders averted disaster. This man, whose name has been lost to history, refused to launch nuclear missiles despite being commanded to do so. His act of courage saved the world, but it also highlighted the fragility of humanity's survival. The general, haunted by the memory, had spent years developing a fail-safe mechanism, a last-resort device designed to prevent nuclear annihilation. This device, known only to a select few, including Cal, was a desperate attempt to safeguard the future. It had the power to halt all electromagnetic radiation, effectively disabling communication systems, satellites, and even nuclear weapons. While its activation would set humanity back centuries, rendering modern technology useless, it would also spare the planet from total destruction. The failsafe was a double-edged sword, offering salvation at the cost of progress. Xavier Collins, a father's desperation amid the global turmoil. The personal struggles of individuals like Xavier Collins added a deeply human dimension to the story. Xavier, a devoted husband and father, was among the few who had been informed of the impending apocalypse. However, like many others, he was not given a specific date or timeline. When his wife left for Atlanta for work, he had no way of knowing that the world would begin to unravel so quickly. By the time the disaster struck, he was separated from her, with only their children safely by his side. Xavier's first instinct was to ensure his wife's survival. Through his connection to Cal and the Paradise Project, he was given a narrow window of opportunity to save her. Cal arranged for a plane to evacuate her from Atlanta, but the plan was fraught with complications. As the truth about the apocalypse was revealed to the public, panic and chaos erupted. People, desperate to save themselves and their loved ones, overwhelmed the evacuation efforts. Xavier's wife, caught in the maelstrom, was unable to reach the designated meeting point. The emotional toll on Xavier was immense. When he learned that his wife had been left behind, he was torn between his duty to his children and his desire to return for her. Cal, understanding the gravity of the situation, intervened. He reminded Xavier that his children needed him and that returning to Atlanta would be a suicide mission. Reluctantly, Xavier boarded the plane to Paradise, his heart heavy with grief and guilt. Cal Bradford, a leader's burden. Cal Bradford emerged as one of the most complex and compelling characters in the series. As the architect of Paradise, he bore the weight of countless lives on his shoulders. His decisions, though often pragmatic, were not without moral ambiguity. When the time came to reveal the truth about the apocalypse, Cal chose transparency over secrecy, believing that people deserved to know the reality of their situation. However, this decision had unintended consequences. The public's reaction was one of sheer terror. As news of the impending disaster spread, society began to fracture. Looting, violence, and desperation became the norm. Cal's evacuation from the White House was a harrowing sequence, showcasing the breakdown of order. His team, realizing they were being left behind, turned on each other in a desperate bid for survival. The scene was a stark reminder of the fragility of human morality in the face of existential threat. Cal's resolve was further tested when he learned that the United States was under threat of nuclear attack. Faced with the prospect of retaliating, he chose a different path. Drawing on the fail-safe mechanism developed decades earlier, he made the decision to halt the missiles. This act, while saving countless lives, also plunged the world into a technological dark age. Communication systems were destroyed, and the survivors were left to rebuild from scratch. Samantha Redford, the architect of Paradise. Samantha Redford, the driving force behind Paradise, was a figure of both admiration and controversy. Her vision and determination had created a sanctuary for humanity, but her methods were often ruthless. As the world crumbled around her, she remained steadfast in her belief that Paradise was the last hope for survival. However, her decisions came at a cost. In the final moments of the season, Samantha found herself at gunpoint, confronted by Xavier Collins. He accused her of lying, of sacrificing countless lives for the sake of Paradise. But Samantha, ever the strategist, had one last card to play. She revealed that Cal's actions had spared Xavier's wife, offering him a chance to reunite with her. This revelation, coupled with the emotional weight of hearing his wife's voice among the survivors, forced Xavier to reconsider his stance. Samantha's offer came with a catch. In exchange for her assistance, Xavier would have to help her uncover the truth behind Cal Bradford's murder. The killer, it seemed, was not among the residents of Paradise, but an outsider with their own agenda. This twist set the stage for the next season, promising new conflicts and revelations. Themes and reflections at its core, Paradise is a story about humanity's resilience and fragility. It explores the lengths to which people will go to survive, the moral compromises they are willing to make, and the enduring hope for redemption. The show's portrayal of a world on the brink of destruction serves as a cautionary tale, reminding viewers of the consequences of hubris and the importance of unity in the face of adversity. As the first season concludes, The survivors of paradise are left to grapple with their new reality. The world they knew is gone, replaced by an uncertain future. Yet, amidst the ruins, there is a glimmer of hope, a chance to rebuild, to learn from the past, and to forge a better tomorrow. The journey ahead will be fraught with challenges, but for now, they have survived. And in a world where survival is the ultimate victory, that is enough.